Minasan, ohayo gozaimasu. Welcome! This channel is for Japanese learners of English. Hyomo shadowing no lesson will yat ikimashou. Listen to today's real native conversation. Focus on the rhythm and shadow along. Practice daily to master tango, bunpao, hatsuan, and rhythm. Repeat and try again tomorrow if needed. Zake. Chenaru no Toroku. Wo onegai shimasu. Okay, are you ready? Here we go.
Ever felt the pressure of delivering a killer presentation in English? It's not just about knowing the language, it's about nailing the structure, right?
Totally. It's like you could have the most groundbreaking ideas, but if you can present them well, they're kind of lost in translation.
Exactly. So where do you even begin? Is there a magic formula or something?
Well, not magic, but there's definitely a flow to it. Think about it like a story.
Yeah.
You've got your beginning, middle, and end, then a little Q&A session afterward, right?
Okay, so let's break it down. What's the deal with the beginning?
The beginning or introduction is crucial. It's where you hook your audience, introduce yourself, what you are going to talk about, and most importantly, what your main point or conclusion is. It seems a bit different from a Japanese presentation.
Oh, interesting. So you just give away the ending right at the start?
Yeah, pretty much. You've got to state your main argument or conclusion up front. In a way, it gets the audience to focus instead of wondering where you're going with the talk. Then you can explain the logic that gets you there.
That makes a lot of sense. So how do you keep people's attention through all of that?
That's where the body of the presentation comes in, where you break down your main point into supporting arguments, evidence, data, whatever helps make your case.
And I guess that's also where all the little phrases come in handy, right?
Absolutely. Phrases like, first of all, moving on to, or ooh, for example. These help create a clear pathway for your audience to follow you,
Okay, so you're leading the audience through your ideas with these phrases. Makes sense. What's next?
Then comes the conclusion, where you wrap it all up, restate your main point, and thank your audience for listening.
Just like wrapping up a good story. I got it. What about the Q&A? How do you tackle that one?
Q&A is where it gets a bit tricky. You've got to be ready for all sorts of questions. But the key is to stay calm and listen carefully, and don't be afraid to ask for clarification.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I think the first step is to learn how to say, could you repeat that?
That's a good one. And if you don't know the answer, it's okay to say that. I'm afraid I don't have that information with me at the moment is a great way to say it. Better than making up an answer, for sure.
Totally. Honesty is the best policy, right? Now, it seems like there's a lot to remember. Any tips to make it easier?
Well, first, remember that less is more. Keep your slides simple, your language clear, and your points concise. The more you prep, the smoother you'll be,
So it's like practicing anything. You get better at it the more you do it?
Yeah, exactly. Try recording yourself to check your pace, practice in front of a mirror, and if you're really feeling adventurous, try it out on a friend or colleague to get feedback.
That sounds like solid advice. But what do you say when you want to introduce something?
Introduce is great, but sometimes it's better to say share or talk about, especially in presentation.
Really? So instead of I will introduce, it could be let me share.
Exactly. It makes it sound more conversational and less formal. And if you're talking about data, you can always say something like, let's take a look at, call. Or this graph shows.
Okay, so it's not just about knowing the English words, but how to use them conversationally too.
Spot on. And when you're referring to the actual slide, instead of saying, look at the chart, you could also say, as you can see on the next slide. It helps keep things moving.
That's a great comparison. Are there any other phrases we should remember?
Absolutely. When wrapping up the main points, you might say something like, to sum up, or in short, or if you want to be more formal, in conclusion.
So it's all about linking your ideas and guiding the audience throughout the presentation.
Precisely. And don't be afraid to use some nonverbal communication as well. Body language and eye contact are important too.
Right. So if you are talking about data or research, you can use some specific phrases like, according to previous surveys.
Yes, that's a great way to show the background for any data that you are showing. It's not just your opinion, it's also backed by data.
So what about when you're changing topics within the presentation?
That's where transitions come in. You can see phrases like moving on to the next topic or let's now move on to the next section. Those are very handy to keep the flow smooth.
I bet. Okay, so to recap, you've got your intro with the main point, the body with all the supporting stuff, the conclusion, then Q&A.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. And use those key phrases,
Yeah.
practice a lot, and be yourself. That's how you ace a presentation.
Awesome. This has been super helpful. Thanks for breaking all of that down for us.
Anytime. Remember, it's a skill you can totally get better at.
All right, we've finished today's lesson. How did you find it? 理解できない部分はありませんでしたか? Repeat and try again tomorrow if needed. Please let me know your kansa or request in the comments. ぜひチャンネルの登録をお願いします. I look forward to seeing you all again soon. See you next time. Bye bye.